Well, so mindset work is powerful, but it's not a magic trick to make pain disappear. So, in this episode, we're going to unpack the difference between reframing everyday stress and naming the truth in truly hard situations. You'll learn why some things shouldn't be reframed, how to recognize when mindset tools are being misapplied, and what real agency looks like when you're navigating something painful, messy, or unjust. If you've ever wondered, but what about the stuff that's just objectively awful? This is the conversation that you have been waiting for. With that, let's jump in and get started. Well, hey there, I am Jennifer Roskamp, a certified life coach and homeschool mom of 9 who is passionate about helping women just like you embrace the here and now while also being focused on creating the life you actually want. As a midlife mom in her 40s, about to be a mom in my 50s, I've realized that it's so easy to lose yourself in caring for your family, your home, and all the things. Until one day you realize you're not even sure who you are anymore or what you even want in life. So on this podcast, we're going to work on managing yourself well so that you can manage all of the other things and people well too. So let's dive into what it means to manage your home, your time, your family, and yourself well. This is the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast. Well, hey there, friend, and welcome to the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast today. Today we're talking about something that doesn't get talked about enough, really, I don't think, in the personal growth world, especially in midlife, where we as women experience what seems like so much pressure to stay positive and keep it together. In reality, not everything needs to be reframed. Some things are just wrong. And so, this is going to be an honest, grounding episode, especially if you've ever felt confused or even ashamed for struggling with something hard, despite doing the mindset work. So, let's talk about the difference between healing and pretending. By the way, if you know of someone who needs to hear this episode, will you share this with her? I help women all day as a coach with their mindset, but I am not here to help women or to suggest that we should paint rainbows and sunshine over hard, unjust, painfully grueling circumstances, challenges, obstacles, and just frankly crappy situations that we have to deal with. There is a difference between managing your mindset and pretending that what is true actually isn't true. And so, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this episode with her. So, again, you know how much I love mindset work. We talk about it here on the podcast all the time. And in reality, mindset work is powerful. It helps us shift, it helps us grow, and it really helps us reclaim so much of our agency. But here's the truth. Mindset tools are meant to bring clarity, not cover pain with a coat of positivity. So, there are things that I've been through that no amount of thinking differently or thinking positively could fix, because it wasn't about how I was thinking. It was about what was actually happening. Let me say that again. It wasn't that I was flawed in my thinking. It's that what was actually happening was a problem. And I see this talked about in various coaching places that I am. I've got one-on-one coaching clients. I've got an amazing coaching community called Accomplished Lifestyle. And so I see this talked about in various places with the women I coach. We start to believe that if we're struggling, we must be doing it wrong. That if we just thought better thoughts, we wouldn't feel this way. And that is just simply not true. I want to be clear. Mindset work is not about slapping those rainbows over real, genuine pain. It's not about pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's not about minimizing things like abuse, gaslighting, betrayal, or manipulation. In these situations, you don't need to reframe anything. You shouldn't be reframing abuse. You need to name it. And so, really, the work that we're talking about here, it's not about denying your experience. It's about telling yourself the truth so that you can move and position yourself in power. And in reality, that's exactly why I created my newest program. It's called Unhidden, because so many women out there are thinking they just need to try harder or they need to have more self control. When what they really need is a safe space to tell the truth about what they're carrying. Unhidden, the doors are open to Unhidden right now, but only for a couple of more days. You can go to getunhidden.com to learn more. But know that Unhidden, it's not about pretending your life is fine. It really is a program that is designed to help women who are getting curious about their relationship with alcohol or overeating or over scrolling or over anything when they realize, you know what, I'm not really sure this is helping me, but I don't know what else to do because this is the only way I know to cope. This is what the program is all about. And it's not about pretending that your life is fine. It's about saying, this is what's actually happening. And now, what do I want to do about it? And so, if you've been feeling that quiet nudge that something just isn't right or that something inside you is tired of pretending, well, Unhidden is for you. Again, go to getunhidden.com or you can find information down in the show notes. It would be awesome to have you there with us. So, reframing, right? Reframing is something that I teach women to do with their thoughts all the time, right? Reframing, thinking differently about things. Let's talk about when it's appropriate to reframe things. When and where does reframing come in? Reframing is powerful in everyday stress. Things like assuming your friend is mad at you just because she hasn't texted back, or feeling like you failed because the day didn't go as planned, or beating yourself up over one decision or another, or maybe a comment that someone made to you in person or on social media. These are places where our thoughts add pain. All right. Our thoughts are injecting pain into a situation that it doesn't necessarily belong in. And much of the time it doesn't, right? But we're injecting, our thoughts are inserting pain into the equation. This is when reframing can help us find peace and calm and perspective. But in truly hard, unfair, grueling, heart-wrenching, gut-punching situations, reframing can actually become a form of denial. And this is what we need to have this conversation for, is because we need to make sure that we're not asking ourselves to reframe and denying the truth and denying reality in the process. So really what we need to talk about is clarity and boundaries. So instead of reframing, what we actually need are these two things, clarity and boundaries. And so how do we do that? Here's a couple of things to get you started. Ask yourself, what is actually happening here? What is actually happening here? Not what do I think about what's happening here, but just the facts, right? If you think about that, I know it was a line from a movie or a TV show, right? Just the facts, ma'am, right? I think it was Dragnet. Am I dating myself now? I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But what is actually happening here? Just the facts. No feelings, no opinions about it. Just what is actually happening here? That's the first question. The next question, once you know the answer to that one, then you're ready to say, what is acceptable to me and what is not? What is acceptable to me and what is not? And then the third question is this behavior abusive or manipulative? Is this behavior abusive or manipulative? And this really is where your power begins. This is where agency, this is where you move into agency over yourself. Because then, once you know the answer to these three questions, then you get to say, how do I want to respond? You can't change the reality that this circumstance is happening. And if it's behavior that someone else is inflicting, you can't do anything to control that other person. Try as hard as you want. You're not going to be able to control another person. You can suggest, you can plead, you can ask, you can even try to manipulate if you want. Not usually a good choice, but you could. But in reality, you still cannot control what that other person does. But what you always can control is this: how do I want to respond? Couple follow-up questions. Am I going to voice my concerns? And if so, what would that look like? Am I going to plan my exit? And what would that look like? In the case of manipulation, abuse, gaslighting, or relationship true, genuine relationship problems, is safety a concern? And if so, how can I keep myself and my kids safe? And remember, from safety, we're not always talking about physical safety, right? We can also be talking about emotional safety and mental safety and even spiritual safety, right? So, how can I keep myself and my kids safe? Because here's the core truth that you need to understand. Again, you can't control another person's behavior, but you can control their access to you. And this really is the heart of boundaries. If you have not read Lisa TerKeurst's book, Good Boundaries and Goodbyes, I cannot recommend it. I cannot recommend it enough. It is the best book. It is the best resource I've ever read on boundaries. And that really is the heart of what she teaches. Boundaries are not a way of forcing someone else to change. It's about deciding what gets to be near you. It is about deciding how something is going to impact you. What are you going to intake, right? You can't control the outside, but you can control what penetrates the inside. How does this truly affect you? How does this impact you? Access, right? So, in situations like this, mindset work, again, it's not about reframing, it's about responding with clarity. It's looking at what is actually happening to determine what's real. And once you determine what's real, then you get to say, and what do I want to do about it? And what do I want to do next? And again, in most cases, you're not going to have the whole plan mapped out. A lot of times the question to ask is, what's my first best step here? What is the first best step that I can take right now? You're not likely going to be able to figure it all out overnight. You don't have to have a 5-step plan. You just have to stop pretending that something is fine when it's not, or that you are fine when you're not. And this really is where you take agency. This is where you step into your power. And this is where then healing can truly start. So here's the reminder in this deep, tough conversation that we have truly just scratched the surface on. But I wanted to make this very important clarification that while I am all about helping women, especially midlife women, take back control of their mindset, it is not the same as pretending that reality is positive when there is no positive in the reality. We are not about lying to ourselves about what's actually happening. We are not about hiding the truth from ourselves or others. Not everything needs to be reframed, nor should it, but everything can be responded to. And again, that's where you want to live. You don't have to justify why it feels hard. If it feels hard to you, it's hard. If it hurts, it hurts. But you do get to choose what happens next. And again, if you want support walking through that, I want to personally invite you to come join me in Unhidden. It's open right now, again, just for the next couple of days. And it's for the woman who doesn't want someone to fix her. She just wants to feel seen. She wants to feel supported and strong enough to figure out and then carry out what happens next. We're doing that work inside Unhidden right now. Again, you can check it out at Get Unhidden or the link in the show notes. Know that you are not broken, you are not alone, and you are stronger than you think. Thanks so much for joining today, and I will talk to you again next time.